back to Hope at Dawn after that short musical break. Now, we are having different newspapers and just perusing them to know what is being reported. Yeah, very soon we shall also have very good reports from this set.
Hallelujah.
Right. Daily Nation, bursary scandal. That is the headline in today's Daily Nation. And they are saying students missing classes for the third week now.
What? Ooh.
MPs have received 10 billion CDF money amid questions about the criteria for allocating education bursaries, with many poor students who posted impressive scores in the Kenya Certificate of Primary Education exams unable to join Form 1 after missing out on scholarships. That story is in full on pages 6 and 7. They're saying crisis as 131,854 students still languishing at home. And they have a list of at least 47 students who are still languishing at home due to lack of school fees to report to their institutions. A very sad story there because these are futures being dimmed, hopes being dashed as well. And we hope that we can find a solution to the same. You can read that story on pages 6 and 7. I see polio alert as pink eye disease linked to COVID. Health authorities have reported a polio outbreak in Garissa and warned Nairobi is also at risk of the crippling and fatal disease. And a study suggests the pink eye infections gripping Mombasa could be a sign of COVID. So that story is covered on page 2 inside the Daily Nation. Counties queried over suspect 3 billion shillings salary payments. Read that, what's happening as well. Another scandal in the offing here. It's on page 16. State agencies sack 202 civil servants over fake papers. So Public Service Commission reveals the workers exposed in an audit last year used bogus education credentials to secure jobs and promotions. A majority of those sacked were in 3 state agencies. So if you want to know those agencies and the bogus documents that they presented, you can read that on page 5 inside the Daily Nation. I also see inside the Nation 20 SIM swap suspects charged as DCI crackdown intensifies. The highest number of suspects arrested at once in the cybercrime hub charged in Bomet. All right, that is on page 10. Murang'a in dire need of clean water nutrition intervention. That is also a story you can read on page 10. Inside the international news, Ethiopia's deputy prime minister loses ruling party post. That's according to state media. Catholic bishops organize a mass for peace in the Great Lakes. That is also a story covered inside. Battles rage in Gaza amid appeals for sustained aid. Guterres has called on donor states to guarantee the flow of vital aid to Gaza. You can read that on page number 18. DN2, this is the pullout. They have the junior sport. Rugby is taking Abigail places. The sport has taken her to Uganda and Tanzania so far and won her awards. Read that on page 2 inside the DN2 junior sport pullout. Teachers Corner, they are saying discipline is key to success, and I agree with that. So you can read that on page 3 inside the DN2 pullout. Then we peruse to the back page, and they are saying Angola party celebrate red-carded keeper as unsung hero. So Angolan President Lourenço watches a team's game, publishes photos showing his happiness. So Angola reacted with optimism after the Palancas Negras on Saturday qualified for the Africa Cup of Nations quarterfinals. The qualification came thanks to a 3-0 win against Namibia in the round of 16, where the goalkeeper Neblu was considered by sports critics to be the first to bring about this feat. So Angola beating Namibia by 3-0 to qualify for the quarters, where they shall be facing off with the Super Eagles of Nigeria, who beat the Indomitable Lions of Cameroon.
How did it feel?
Vizuri tu. Tuko tu sawa. Then yesterday,
yes.
we had Congo DRC. They were taking on Egypt. It ended 1-1 in normal play. So they had to go for those post-match penalties. And DR Congo saw off the Pharaohs of Egypt. So that's another plus for DR Congo.
Right.
So today we have Cape Verde taking on Mauritania at 8 p.m. and then a big one at 11 p.m. The defending champions Teranga Lions of Senegal. You said it's your team.
Yeah.
They will be taking on the hosts, the Elephants
hey.
of Cote d'Ivoire.
We got this.
You sure?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I'll pray. Why are you laughing?
Even the Ivorians will be praying. Yeah, even the Ivorians will be praying. Anyway, so that is in as far as the Africa Cup of Nations is concerned. Then I see Heather Hayes tribute at annual Motorsports Gala as champions are fitted. So that is a story also that you can get on page 33. That is in as far as the nation is concerned.
All right, beautiful. Let us go to the Standard. And I see the very top page has You Are Being Played, Jubilee tells Gachagua. That's on the top page. And also I see twins sold at birth reunited by TikTok. They seek answers. That's on the world page. That is a story, very, very interesting story on page 22. And of course, I see Senegal fans salivate over date with Ivory Coast.
Yeah.
The way they are putting it, you would think it's a friendly match.
Yeah.
Rush to trace 130,000 Form 1 students. They say that since the admission, the official date was communicated and many students were admitted. We still have so many that have yet to be admitted. But let us go inside, and I see on page 2, Kuppet officials push for review of the union's 2010 constitution. So Kuppet has pitched a case for a review of its constitution, which they argue will lead to inclusivity and entrench democratic processes. A story that you can find on page 2. They also say that the move to expand positions from 10 to 16 to include officials from marginalized regions. And a sad story here, I see traumatized policeman rescued from construction site in Turkana. And this particular police officer was deemed to have deserted duty 8 years ago and has been rescued from a construction site in Turkana County. His name is Clement Erumu, who was recruited into the National Police Service in 2011. You can check out that story on page 3. And of course, it's a story that you've also highlighted on the Daily Nation. Puzzle of 126,000 students yet to report to new schools. And I see here that the government is rushing against time to trace about 126,000 students who were allocated Form 1 slots but are yet to report to schools. A number of areas and especially the counties has been named here, with Bungoma leading with over 11,600 students that have not yet reported. But remember also the fees required, 54,000 is the amount of fees that is required for the national schools and 40,000 for the extra county. So generally, when you look at the cumulative amount that one has to have for the first term in Form 1, it costs almost 70,000 when you include all these other things that are needed. So it's a bit tough for most people. But so far, 1.2 million, that is the number of students who have so far reported to schools 2 weeks after official reporting date on January 15th. And I also see here, page 5, Huru allies claim Ruto behind political divisions in Mount Kenya. And it is said that Jubilee leaders now claim the political upheaval in Mount Kenya region is part of President William Ruto's game plan to have politicians join his team. A story that you can find on page 5. And of course, there's also a really other sad story here about journalists, because one time we had a story of Francis Nyarure, who disappeared and nobody knew where they went to. This is someone who was working for the Citizen, I think Weekly Citizen newspaper, and he went missing on January 15th, 2009. And now the widow is talking about how difficult it's been to raise the children. So there's been even demonstrations where they're saying journalists' lives matter. It's really a dangerous place.
Yeah.
you know, to be a journalist and to just report, because sometimes you say things that they rub off people the wrong way, and the next thing we find is that people disappear. But I wonder what is the place of journalist protection in all of this, you know? You know, you would find like some media stations, they'll even fly you away to a different country when they know that your life is at risk. So I think, you know, being protected is important, and not just going after a story for the name. You know, you have to weigh the options. You can want to say the truth, but then if you know it's risking your life, you need to be careful.
Is there any story that is worth risking your life?
I don't think so. I really, well, you know, you can look at it from two angles. You can be the sacrificial lamb. Maybe it's a story that is also involving the killings of other many people. In such a situation, I think we will have to ask for a lot of discernment from the Holy Spirit and from God, because you can risk your life for something that would actually save millions of lives. So and maybe just rushing through, let me look at the final one here. Girls who dropped out of school get a second chance at education. This is some really good news. Woman Rep comes to girls' rescue and awards them scholarships to return to school. And this is the Kericho Woman Rep, that is Beatrice Kemei. Such a beautiful thing, a story you can find on page 11. And of course, on the back page, which is the sports page of the Standard, Senegal fans salivating for date with host Ivory Coast. Hey, jamani, hii itakuwa kali. Hii itakuwa noma. Ni saa ngapi hii match?
Ni mapema sana.
Saa ngapi?
Saa 5 usiku tu.
Ai, we bwana we, mtu anaweza watch recorded we.
Mapema sana. You cannot afford to sleep.
Uzuri tutakuwa hapa, tutajua results kesho. I don't have to go through the stress. Who will emerge victorious when Senegal come calling against Ivory Coast? Interesting match right there. And something interesting here on page 30, I see Kenyan women's football is a tale of triumph abroad, but struggles at home. Quite unfortunate. I see at the moment FKF WPL winners are guaranteed 1 million shillings in prize money. The local league has no sponsors and local players barely receive monthly salaries. Unfortunate. And 1 million, hiyo pesa ni mingi, by the way. You know, women playing football. Wow. This is really amazing. I mean, we don't talk much about women in football. But that's something huge, even for, you know, for us as Kenyans right here. I think I'll try out
football.
Really?
You're sure?
Your dreams are valid. Don't you believe?
No, I believe. Your dreams are valid. And when you thrive, I become your manager.
Sindio? That's true. That's
Sign to my deal.
Sign my deal.
Sign to my deal.
Yes, we'll do that.
Business Daily, they go with the headline, manufacturers shake banks with 133 billion shillings loan defaults. Manufacturers now the biggest defaulters in Kenya. Share of bad loans jumps 59.2% to overtake trade sector. You can read that story. Very, very, very risky. Very, you know, in terms of if they are the biggest defaulters, you wonder what is happening with even kawaida people. So you can read that story on the first page and the second page inside the Business Daily. Then I see UK fights higher Kenyan taxes on its whiskies car parts. So the United Kingdom has made an official complaint over the higher import duty Kenya charged on some of its products. A senior government official has revealed. I also see billionaire Kimani buys extra 8.4 million Safaricom shares.
Wow.
So billionaire John Kibunga Kimani has bought an extra 8.64 million shares in Safaricom, joining investors taking advantage of the stock's lower price to add to their holdings. So you could also try something. Could be, may not be millions, but something.
Billions.
All right. CMA Mars margin stock trading to lift bourse. It is developing, that is the CMA is developing margin trading regulations as part of its interventions to revitalize shares trading on the Nairobi Securities Exchange. On the life page, bouncing back body and mind after childbirth. So that is on page 19, and bouncing back body and mind after childbirth. And they have a story of Nancy Shiuri, whose recovery from 5 successive pregnancies and drive to help new mothers. So you can read that on page 19. And want to lose festive weight? Okay, maybe someone is watching. So here is what to consider when picking a meal. So they are giving you a breakdown of what to consider and what to do for you to lose that festive weight. All right. Then I see why data protection and privacy should matter to SACCOs. According to the law, when the purpose that SACCOs collected the personal data changes, this should be communicated to members. And it's an interesting story, back page of the Business Daily. Lots and lots of stories being covered there. So you can cover, or rather you can grab whichever paper you want and then get to see what's being reported.
Beautiful. And of course, at the top of every hour on Hope FM, you can get the news updates. And right here on Hope TV, we have Dira at 7 p.m. We have Newswatch at 9 p.m. So you can definitely tune in and get to know what is happening in the country and beyond. So right about now, we're going to be having the video of the day. And then when we get back, we'll talk about it.